Week 9 in the books for college football. Let's go through what we learned from Week 9. Number 1, Oregon is the real deal. They just absolutely blew out Illinois. They blew out Purdue. And obviously, these are not teams that are on the same level as Oregon, but they are winning with ease. They obviously took down Ohio State. They have been looking really good. They have looked like the quote-unquote super team this year. Excited to see what they have left in store. All right, Ohio State has some serious problems at left tackle. They lost Josh Simmons. They just lost their backup. Now they're on their third string. This was a concern going into the season about their tackle depth, and it's rearing its ugly head right now. And they have a really big game this weekend against Penn State, where Penn State has some dudes that can get after you, and they have a really strong defensive line. So we'll see how that holds up. But this could be a very serious blow to Ohio State, because not having a strong left tackle will really hurt you. The Cinderella stories this year, they continue, and it is awesome to see. You got BYU as an underdog, winning outright. Colorado winning. You got Iowa State still undefeated. Army still undefeated. Like, all of these teams they're still winning, and they've been great so far. So I hope that these Cinderella stories continue. Indiana, another one. They have Michigan and Ohio State left on their schedule, but these Cinderella teams have been awesome. It's been great to see it this late in the season. I hope it continues. There are some spoiler teams out there that are flying under the radar a little bit, and they have some big matchups coming up, and they will certainly be underdogs to those bigger teams. But man, they can play spoiler alert here. Like, I think of Arkansas as one of those teams. I think of South Carolina and Florida and Virginia Tech. Like, there are a lot of teams out there that can play, that have big games left on their schedule, that can really disrupt the playoff race. Speaking of a playoff race, the American Conference right now is awesome, and this month of November is going to be electric for this race. You got the two service academies in Army and Navy, then you got Tulane in there. Like, this whole conference race is going to be awesome for the month of November. And you also got Memphis in there. There's 4 teams that are right there, right in the thick of it, and they have the rest of the month to go. But it's going to come down to the wire with those 4 teams. So get your popcorn ready. The American Conference is going to be a really fun conference to watch as we move forward into November. Okay, this game, the UTSA game, was ridiculous. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the UTSA was up, I think it was like 42-17 or something like that, and they lost outright. And it was just so hilarious. So they are my LOLs team of the week, UTSA. Man, that was brutal. Okay, let's get serious for a second. Colorado, they're bowling. They got to 6 wins on the year. They beat their win total of 5.5 already. And they look like a good team. They're ranked for the first time this year. And they're square in the middle of a Big 12 conference title game appearance. And guess what? That also puts them in the race and in the hunt for a college football playoff appearance. Kudos to Deion Sanders for flipping this around, man. I have to say hand up, especially at the beginning of the season. I did not see this coming, and they have been looking good. They have arguably 2 of the top players in the sport, but that's not really their story. Their defense has been improved, and they look like a totally different team compared to last year and what they were actually at the beginning of the season. So they've looked great. Colorado, great story. Another one of those Cinderella stories this year. I want to talk about this tweet that Booger McFarland put out, and I don't think he's so spot on with it. Pass rushers, tackles, and mobile quarterbacks are the recipe for success in college football. If you have those 3 and you have depth at those 3 and like really great players at those 3 positions, you have a really good recipe for success in college football. We saw it on display today with the mobile, or last weekend with the mobile quarterbacks coming in and taking over a game in the Penn State game and in the Texas A&M game. You obviously have the pass rushers. You look at South Carolina, their pass rushers, they're elite. They're keeping them in every single game. And obviously you see what's happening with Ohio State and their offensive tackles and what that's doing to them. So if you're able to win in recruiting and development at those three positions, you're going to be really set up for success. All right, lastly, the Big 12, the preseason favorites in the Big 12, man, what is going on with them? You got like Utah and Oklahoma State and UCF and like all of these teams, Arizona, like all of these teams have just, they're bottom dwellers. They're at the bottom of the conference, and these other teams that people were sleeping on in the preseason are rising to the top. Now, we still have a whole month of football left to play, but it has been really chaotic to see what's been happening from these top tier teams that we thought were going to be competitive in the Big 12. Just not. They're the bottom dwellers. Follow Big Body Ball CFB on all socials.